This is Alpha 0000001, the very first SA-80 off the production line. It has unfortunately lost its butt plate, its butt pad, one of the issues with the early design. But it has that classic big sheet metal boxy shape, shaped like a bit of a wedge. This is what went into service from 1985, initially Royal Marines, Guards regiments, people like that. And then by 1987, frontline units are receiving quantities. And of course, the British Army and the British Armed Forces go to the Gulf in 1991. And that's when the real problems start to become very apparent. Things like ingress of sand, especially, but also durability of components, quality control, all sorts of issues happened and gave this weapon not a great reputation to begin with. Those were addressed. Well, 1997, Heckler Koch are acquired by British Aerospace, who were then the design authority for the SA-80, and they are put to work on redesigning the A1. And to be honest, I know it looks quite different in some ways. This is an A2, L85A2. It looks quite different with the handguard forend here, with the rails, but the A2 per se doesn't necessarily have that, and a lot of them didn't to begin with. This is an urgent operational requirement change separate to the A2 designation. So this does not necessarily make the rifle an A2. All that was substantially changed was, well, externally, all it was this comma-shaped cocking handle here, where it's got a big curved reinforced surface there, so that when it's in the rearmost position here, and users will of course know this, the cartridge case thwacks into that and goes off into the wild blue yonder and doesn't hopefully cause a stoppage. That was a significant external change. Otherwise, the only changes were the markings. All the magic happened on the inside. So H&K took every single gas part and working part, redesigned it ever so slightly, or even sometimes just got the correct spec hardness for the part. There is one other difference the spotters out there might notice, and that's actually the size of the ejection opening. If you were to compare this side by side, I won't bore you with it now, but they did actually open this up as well. So there was more room there to get the cartridge case out, and the new cocking handle stopped it trying to make its way back in again. One of the major causes of stoppages. Just in time for Afghanistan, thankfully, and the rifle has been fine ever since. But of course, we weren't content there, and there were more changes to come. Now, it wasn't just the weapon that was improved with the A2. HK looked at magazine-related stoppages as well. They had developed a magazine for their own rifles, the G41 being one of those, which was much more robust. So it's physically, you might see the HK on the butt plate there. Again, if you've served, you probably spotted these and how much heftier they are than the old SA-80 mags. Nice big shiny follower here that's properly designed and won't tilt and nosedive you around into the magazine body or cause them to trickle out. And crucially, they took a design they already had and they made it out of solid steel. So it's hefty. It's not AK magazine hefty. So they sacrificed a little bit of lightness for a magazine that would just work, regardless of what you put it through, essentially. Now, in service, through an urgent operational requirement, an awful lot of use was made of the Magpul EMAG, which is less robust, but an awful lot lighter. So that reduced the soldier burden, as it were, significantly. But these steel mags are still in service, and I believe back to being the primary issue magazine. One of the most noticeable changes made for reliability purposes. This, again, those of you who know the weapon will know the TMH assembly, and there is the, I'll show you, there is the hammer. So this flies forward, of course, strikes the firing pin to initiate the round. For the A2, H&K found some space, I guess because of that boxy receiver design, and they put on an additional lump of metal, basically, that bit there. So that's the original width of the hammer as on the A1. And here is that quite considerable bit of extra mass just for a more authoritative strike on the firing pin. The firing pin itself was also slightly redesigned. And we can see there on the one side, a little spindly tip. It is really just the very end that has been substantially redesigned here. But this is the A1, and you can see it's quite thin for quite a lot of its length. That's where breakages were occurring. Also to do with lack of quality control, proper hardnesses, that kind of thing. HK took no chances at all with the A2 firing pin, and it is thicker. Actually, the whole of this section here is thicker, and critically, it's thick all the way to this point, and then it tapers in a cone down to just that small spindly amount there. Much stronger. It's going to last for far longer. Because, of course, if your firing pin tip breaks, your weapon is down. It's not going to work. The bolt on the top there is your A2, and that's made out of a much harder, better steel, which is in itself significant. Not a huge design change, except for the extractor. So the claw that pulls out that empty case and has to do that in a repeatable, reliable manner for hundreds, for thousands of rounds. You can see right there, it's much beefier. The big curved shape there, it's held in a different way as well. And that's just going to more reliably get that empty case out of the weapon and then better clear of the weapon with the other modifications that we've covered as well. So feed stoppages are one of the major things that they were trying to resolve with these changes. But every single working part and gas part was replaced.